The site I have chosen is Great Wall City and its immediate surroundings. The reason behind choosing the particular site was the history behind it. Currently a mixed-use development, it has undergone myriad changes, both physical and programmatic in nature, over the years. I will address these changes in chronological order, starting this report with an overview of the history, before going into further detail, highlighting architectural, urban planning, as well as programmatic changes that took place in and around the site. The earliest records of Great Wall show it to be a Chinese cemetery in the 1920s. It was owned by Mr. Li Chunyong, a well-known Chinese philanthropist. The first development of site to amusement park was in 1929. This marks the first physical as well as the first programmatic change to occur on site. 150 wooden shacks sprouted up on site along with simple programs that targeted lower income families, including free films, operas, and the occasional boxing match. But business was slow, and the site was sold to the Shaw brothers in 1941. World War II broke out soon after, and Shaw did not have any time to make any changes to the amusement park. During the Japanese occupation of Singapore between 1942 and 1946, the site was transformed into a prisoner of war camp for Australian soldiers. Later, during this period, the site was also used as a gambling den, with the shifting of the prisons to the rear of the site. As the wooden shacks remained throughout this period, the change here is primarily programmatic in nature. In 1946, after the war, Shaw renovated the shacks, installing more luxurious and westernized features of amusement parks, such as fountains, carousels, a Ferris wheel, as well as the famous ghost train ride. The general program remained the same, an amusement park, but with minor changes to the features of the park. As such, I would consider the changes here to be mostly physical in nature. In 1958 was the grand opening of Great Wall City Amusement Park. The park was renovated, the shacks were changed into concrete structures, and the Sky Cinema was open. So the changes here are mostly physical in nature as well. The amusement park closed down in 1964. Its closure was attributed to the arrival of television, supermarkets, pasar malams, which led to the decline of Great Wall. Although the rides in the park closed down, the restaurants and cinemas continued their operations till 1978. As such, the changes here are largely programmatic, as not many physical changes were made on site. In 1979, the site was sold to Mr. Robert Kwok, a rich developer from Malaysia. But plans for this mixed development were abandoned in 1982 due to soaring development land use charges that he have to pay in order to change the land use from that of an amusement park to a mixed-use development. Construction resumed in 1986. This was because the cost of the taxes were reduced and he decided to go along with the plan. Great Wall City, as we know it today, opened in 1997. The site has since been transformed completely, both physically and programmatically. The photo is an aerial photograph taken when it was still an amusement park on the shore. This is post-World War II period. The location and the orientation of the old buildings were not too hard to find, as the site is an island site bounded by Zion Road, Kim Seng Road, River Valley Road, and the Singapore River, giving it a unique shape. The areas highlighted in deep magenta will be shown later in a closer view to compare the changes in scale and architecture that have occurred over the years. This photo is from a similar angle and shows how the site looks like today. You can already see the major urban planning changes from this view. The site has since been split into two separate plots, with the new Kim Seng Walk, and Singapore River has been changed into Alexandra Canal. This can be accounted to the Drainage Master Plan implemented in Singapore in the 1970s by the Ministry of Environment, along with the URA and the HDB. The Singapore River itself was transformed over a period of 10 years involving many agencies. These two photos will show the changes in the scale and typology of the architecture. This is how the frontage used to look like back when it was an amusement park. The view is from Kim Seng Promenade along the Singapore River, and parking was allocated for as an open-air car park system in front of the entrance. And if you take note, the elevation of the frontage rises to no more than 4 stories in height. This is a photo of the same frontage now. This is currently the access to the office towers of Great World City, and there are other access points for both residential service apartments as well as the shopping mall all around the site. The car park has since been pushed underground, probably due to the increase of number of vehicles in Singapore and the lack of space on ground level, as well as rising costs, resulting in developers wanting to maximize total sellable area on the ground floor plan. There have been changes to the spaces as well as the programs on site as well. From an open-air amusement park with sporadic pockets of enclosed spaces such as the theatres, the boxing match arena, the opera stages, the typology of the site has since been changed to the commonly seen, introverted and mechanically ventilated shopping mall typology of today. The mall exists now in 6 stories, with 3 of them being below ground and 3 of them above ground. Looking at the master plans for Singapore from the Urban Redevelopment Authority, from the 1950s until now, there have been large changes in the scale and the typology of the architecture in and around the site. From a low-rise urban mat to the high-rise density seen everywhere in Singapore today. Shophouses around the site have also been removed, demolished, and changed to service apartments and costly condominiums, as can be seen in the figure ground mapping. This can possibly be accounted for in the changes of the lifestyle choices of the Singaporeans, a general rise in the affluence and living standards, as well as the accumulation of premium property near the city. This has resulted in the development of many areas into high-cost residential buildings through en blocs. Within the site itself, Great World City of today manifests itself as a 6-story shopping mall, two 18-story office towers, and 2 35-story service apartment towers. The other portion of site that has since been split from the original site is also a high-rise condominium. URA Urban Master Planning has also accounted for changes in the program, typology, architectural form, and building height. The introduction of urban use planning dictates the program of the site, while the decision to split the site into 2 with different land users also results in different forms and users programs on site. Another possible factor for the difference in building forms and typology over the years is the introduction of plot ratio numbers. The plot ratio has also been changed over the years, and the 2 sites now have a value of 3.3 and 3.7 respectively. This results in very high building forms. Lastly, changes to the architectural rules over the years, such as the introduction of building setbacks, green buffers, and so, have also changed the cityscape from that of a 5-foot way to the typology we now see today. Changes to the program on site can also be attributed to myriad factors. For one, the Betting Act in 1960, as well as the Common Gaming House Act in 1961, made gambling illegal in Singapore for many years. Only government-controlled gambling agencies were allowed to operate. Examples include horse betting, Toto, 4D, and so forth. This could have accounted for the disappearance of gambling dens like the one that manifested itself at Great World City during the Japanese occupation. Changes in the general level of affluence, as well as the modern lifestyle of Singaporeans, also made the old programs on site irrelevant to that of today. Mega shopping complexes, supermarkets selling frozen goods, as well as members-only private gyms replaced the simple kampong-style activities of the past. The introduction and proliferation of air conditioning made available to the public on a large scale, as well as land prices, could also have been certain invisible forces that have changed the spaces on site, from the large open-air typology of the amusement park to the introverted shopping mall typology of today. The mall is almost devoid of any historical relations to the past.